A message for my people.
Nick Dad, baby. We the new label.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
Come on, son.
Now this the black sheep, sticking it to him. I need a crib
Like I'm Gatsby.
I
Need
need it in
it.
hand, just understand my
Pockets that deep.
with nothing to prove. I ain't got nothing to do, and they can't compete, and I got nothing to lose. You see, they told me I'm the one that's gonna benefit. Never been a threat.
My dog back repping the merch, which you can get at the merch store.
Yes, you can.
Merchandise.veteransminimum.com.
Shiny little hat, man.
You know what I'm saying? Listen, it's the
puffed up.
holidays. If you guys want to get some nice goodies for your people,
There's no better time.
I mean, why not?
There's no better time. This would look amazing on
Anyone.
Anyone.
With anything.
yeah.
Because
them.
we have different
It would
color
look good on them.
options you can get too.
Can I get this in purple if I wanted to?
Any color you want, bro.
Wait, green?
Any color. I'm telling you, we got options.
That's
Look
crazy.
at this.
Yeah,
Many options.
different sizes.
Yeah. I mean, bro, look at the size of my head, dude. I gotta have.
Yeah, that's a melon.
That's a
You got a melon
dude.
going.
I can't wear hats sometimes because I get that red line across the top.
Ooh.
7 3/4 is a tight squeeze.
Like you're thinking hard.
It's not much brain in there, but we do have charisma and spunk.
How did they find a helmet to fit you?
I was
Was
called
it-
Chrome Dome when I played football.
Did
bro.
you have a special helmet? There was one time when I was in high school where a kid on the team needed a special helmet.
I might have.
Did you?
I might have, yeah.
They had to order one.
And I wore a visor for no reason. I was not that cool to wear
Shut
a visor.
the fuck up.
Yeah,
No.
It was rough. It was rough. But let's not bury the lead. We got a special guest in the studio, a late guest. You know,
Whoa.
sort of like out the bullpen, emergency. You know, the backup. The starter got hurt. He hit me up. A guy whose work I do admire. I'm a big fan of. We connected during the pandemic, and we kind of built a really cool relationship and friendship. And I've rooted for him from the beginning. He lives in New York. I would say he's an adopted New Yorker now. Loves the Knicks.
We were talking about it.
Right? Loves the Knicks. And he's someone whose work I genuinely appreciate and admire. And my dog, Jack Settlement, is in the building.
Appreciate you guys. Yeah. Hey, the sentiment is definitely the same because we, like you said, we talked during the pandemic, and I see a lot of you a couple years ago, just based off of talking to you for a couple minutes, like where you came from. And then now I'm in your studio. Like, this thing is insane. So congrats to you.
Oh yeah, man. I appreciate that, dude. Like I feel as if certain people you kind of want to, like, it's inspiring, bro, for real. Like your whole story with Snapback Sports and the fucking phone cases. I remember that story with John Wall. Like that shit is crazy to see what you turned it into and everything that you're doing now. And for the people that might not know, can you tell the people a little bit about what it is that you're working on and doing? Because George, it's a lot of shit, bro.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can go to his Instagram right now at Jack Settlement. And
Cheap
yeah,
plug.
I mean, the bio says it all. You know, when you got all those ad tags and
Yeah.
it says CEO and founder, you're like, oh, this is the boss. This dude's real.
We are doing a lot. I will say that. And I think spreading yourself thin could be problematic. My battery level is higher than most. And I think that's how I adopted New York as almost a second city. I grew up in Baltimore, but the speed of New York is not for everyone. I mean, you were just there.
Yeah, no, I without you saying that, I explained, I was like, dude, I went to New York and I was like, damn, I feel like this is exactly how I worked this year. It's everybody all the time.
It's crazy. It's nonstop. But yeah, I founded Snapback Sports about 6 years ago. I worked for Action Network coming out of college, Whistle Sports. So I had some like corporate, I would say, startup corporate background. And then 3 years ago, went full time. This all originated off of a Snapchat account. So House of Highlights or, you know, a lot of those accounts inspired me. And I was like, no one's doing it on Snap. And this was when vertical content didn't exist. Like it was a Snap story. It was the only vertical. Then Instagram copies them. Nowadays, everything is vertical for the most part.
Yep.
So built that up. The biggest thing we did was we just built an insane community. And we actually were one of the first podcasts at Blue Wire. And so we used that community. We ran up the charts, got to #1 on sports, which was like an insane moment for us. Like I'll never forget, like I'm at a bar at midnight and I'm posting like, keep going. And like, we're skipping over Stephen A. Smith. And I'm like, you know, 5 years ago, I was watching this clown on TV, admiring his work. And now like our silly little podcast is ahead of his. So some great memories, especially being able to reminisce here. Now we create content, and we create content for like people who love sports. And you guys work in sports adjacent. there's people who love sports and then there's sports business. And I think that marriage is where I come from. I had a family business where we sold beer to the Ravens and the Orioles. So watching my mom run that business, and every time the Ravens won, it meant we sold more beer, is a whole lot different than the fan who just wants to win because they're a diehard fan. We now have like our life on the line to a degree, which probably has a lot to do with like why I'm obsessed with gambling to a degree, right? Like
That's what I was going to mention.
It's all a
like,
different way to get a bet down at large volume. So the one thing about me though is I genuinely love sports. Like the energy, the passion, the connection, the community. I always use the analogy. If you were to if Apple sells $1 trillion worth of phones this Christmas, which they probably will, like no one in the boardroom is excited. They're just like celebrating their stock price going up. If the Ravens win the Super Bowl, like grown adults will be crying over a children's game, and you just can't capture that anywhere else. And so we take that kind of passion and then put it into our content and share that with people who feel the same.
Bro, it's so spot on because I forgot who said it, and it's one of my favorite quotes about sports. It's like Hollywood writers and actors get paid millions of dollars to come up with these crazy, hypothetical, captivating storylines. And sports give it to you like 4 times a week, right? Like the amount of
a day.
Yeah, bro, sometimes a day, but like the amount of times where some wild shit goes down and like Tommy DeVito now, right? Like that's some shit out of a movie.
How about the fact that the NFL created an entire campaign about it being scripted? Like that's how good it is naturally.
Yep.
That's sports.
Yeah, and it's just crazy. Like the storylines are every week, bro. Any sport, it's just nuts. And there's a team in the NBA right now that's lost 20 games in a row.
No,
and
it's
then you
crazy.
have other things like back to Tommy DeVito as a New York Giants fan. I've been going through the ringer, Jack. Like it's not as fun as being a fucking Ravens fan now, but it's been some
the
hard
insanity
times.
Run, they're calling it. It's been fun. I mean, even the agent last night or Monday night on TV was hilarious. Like it's entertainment. It's great.
And bro, why not capitalize on that?
Yeah.
Right? Like who knows? Maybe they're going to play Philly soon, and anyone who plays Philly as a Giants quarterback looks like shit. So I was talking to my buddy Will. We do jiu-jitsu together, and he's a big Eagles fan. And I was telling him, dude, all this, hey, the passing paisan, all that shit, like once he got to go with the Philly, it's out the door. So Tommy, capitalize now, bro. I should say capitalize now, because the Eagles are lurking, and they're going through it, so they're going to need a big win. But dude, Jack, you're absolutely right, man. It's the coolest thing. Like sports are so dope. That's, I always felt like my life, I wanted to do some shit with sports, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everybody wants to grow up and be an athlete. Then you hit the realization like, yo, bro, you're a 5'10" white dude. The ceiling is kind of low. You know what I'm saying?
You should probably look into the sports media.
Maybe running your mouth since you can't run fast is what you should be doing. But I always wanted to do something. And recently I was on a pod and I was talking to a friend of mine on there, and she asked me about like, what did you want to do like growing up? And I was like, yo, I always wanted to do something in sports. Like if the podcast stuff didn't work out in the content. And dude, for me, it was like being a football coach.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I fell in love with football, bro. I grew up a soccer kid. I was soccer my whole life. I was pretty good, George. The boy was nice.
How good?
I mean,
Bro, I was getting recruited as a sophomore in high school by like some big time D1
Really?
schools. I had just came back from Greece.
Okay.
And I played in an international tournament out there with my club team. I did a lot of travel soccer.
Yeah.
I played defensive midfield.
Okay.
So I played a position that was like not flashy. Not a lot of people played it.
Yeah.
And it was like, yo, like cardio machine, bro. Cardio stallion. Like I would never get like the first minute to the 90th minute. It kind of looked like the game just started. Like I was one of those guys.
I mean, this shocks me. This shocks me. You're also the same guy that says when I throw an interception in football, I don't go chase after for the tackle.
I do not.
Cardio machine, though. Cardio machine.
If I throw an interception,
Come on, bro.
Listen, when I played football, I could also sling a football.
I've seen the flag football clips. Yeah.
I could sling. George saw it too. I almost killed George. I almost put him right into a pole the first time.
He threw a deep ball and I was just running and there was a pole there and I made the catch and it hit my side. It was offensive PI.
It was.
I had last second pushed off.
But dude, I was a soccer kid, right? And I had just come back from Greece, and there were a couple of teams that were like, hey, they were talking to my dad, because like, what was I? I was 14, 15 years old. Like, hey, next summer, bring him out here for the whole summer. He could join the academy. And between that summer to the next, the guy who now coaches my old high school football team, Vinny, he was the quarterback before me. And dude, I played quarterback like fucking around at the park. Like I was good, but like to learn a playbook, I thought that was like a different language, and it was wild. It was like, bro, I'm telling you could do it, dude. You'll be good. Like they need a quarterback also. And bro, like similar to the first time I did jujitsu, I fell in love with that shit right away. Like taking a shotgun snap and all that. And from there, I transitioned from being a soccer kid to a football guy.
Wow.
And I completely abandoned soccer. And I often ask people on the show, and I'm going to ask you this now too. What's your biggest regret?
Ooh.
In anything, right?
Yeah.
And the reason why I ask you this is because for me, when I ask people this, and since I'm putting you on the spot, I'm going to give you a chance to think about it. I tell people it's quitting soccer when I did. But on the flip side, I fell in love with football, which has now given me everything I'm doing now, right? Like football was my big passion that allowed me to create the content. So like, is it a regret? Who knows? Maybe at 17, I blow out an Achilles or tear an ACL and then I'm no longer that athlete. So like, what would you say is your biggest regret?
It's funny you say it. So growing up, I was a soccer player. That was my sport. Even in Maryland, where lacrosse was really the sport, soccer was the sport I loved to play. And I started to hate soccer when my coach, there was one morning I'll never forget, it was like January, and the Ravens were on. It was one of the last weeks of the season. Sunday, 10 a.m. practice was called for. And my dad, I'm like, oh, is practice canceled? Because I look out the window and there's ice and snow on the ground. And like, that's how competitive club soccer was, you know? And it was like, we're practicing on a sheet of ice. So I kind of like fell out of love for it. But then I got to high school and it was a little more toned down, but our team finished 1 in the country my senior year. And I was the only starter to not go and play D1. So that's my claim to fame. But in 8th grade, I tried it out for football. I wanted to be a quarterback, but I was tiny back then. So I couldn't even throw it outside the hashes. So I have a similar story, but I reverted back to the pitch. My biggest regret, like you said, the regret isn't actually like I stay up thinking about this stuff, because I'm not like everything happens for a reason, but the timing just worked out. I would have gone for snapback sports a little bit earlier, I would say. You know, you want to make sure everything's secure. You want to make sure it's going to work out. But I think if I had, made the leap a year earlier, like I would have done that. Same thing with YouTube. I wish that I had done the YouTube channel 5 years ago when I first started Snapback. Like we're just really getting started. We're 9 months in, but we just restarted the channel, which we'll talk about, like 5 weeks ago. So I could have been doing this for 5 years and 5 weeks and like where we'd be at. But in the same vein, it's like all those learnings are why I've gotten to this place and why I'm like, all right, I'm going to do it for the next 5 years so that I don't have that regret. So yeah, it's always just like, I wish I had gotten started on some stuff earlier, but then also realizing like stuff just takes time. Like we talked pandemic, right? At the pandemic, if I had said, you're going to be sitting in Vegas, right? You would have been like, that's my dream. That's insane. And like, it didn't happen the next week or the next year. It took a few years, but like we're here now, and where you're going to be in a few years is going to be probably twice as dope as this. So, no real regrets, but if I had to pick one, something along getting started earlier.
Yeah, man. And to your point, like another conversation I had recently, like, yo, I fuck with people that go through some shit.
Yeah.
Like that. I know that if you've been through adversity and you've gone through some like fuckery, which everyone does, it's like, yo, I know you're not going to fold when it gets bad. Right. And for someone like you, dude, bro, he had like, how many subs did you have on your YouTube channel?
600,000.
And then he just
I saw
was like, yo,
tweet.
He was just like, yo, I'm not doing this shit no more. I just fucking X'd out the channel. You know what I would do for 600,000 subs right now, George?
Well, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
Subscribe to the Patreon.
Subscribe to the
Nick will
Patreon.
show you what he'll fucking do for 600.
Do a lot of weird shit. Whatever you think is weird, that's what I would do. But like, bro, to do that, to just like abandon it, like, do you do that if you didn't go through those growing pains until now?
No, I mean, that was, so for those who don't know, at the start of this year, our big goal was to build YouTube content, because I think long form content, podcasting, YouTube, etc., is the future of content. Shorts are great for top of funnel exposure, awareness, but like you need people to sit down, listen to you, fall in love with you, right? You can't do that in 30 seconds. So we put together a strategy to grow on YouTube as YouTube launched YouTube Shorts. And so we knew how short form content works. So we just blasted that stuff and we grew to 600,000 subs from like 30K that we had built like a real audience from. What we found out is when we then tried to turn on that long form content, essentially imagine like just random people subscribing because they liked a random video and then they weren't there for us. And so then those videos would get like 400, 800 views. Our top video ever, we literally won the Kentucky Derby. I can tell that story later, but like we were on NBC front row with the owners who won the Derby. We had all that footage. That video got 2,000 views on this 600,000K channel. And so like, we were like, is our content not good? Is the thumbnails not good? Titles? And so after 6 months of testing and trying, we were like, all right, I think we're at a place where the content's good. We need to restart. And so we have 5 videos and every single one but one has over 2,000 views. So like the decision is, come to fruition. But had we not gone through that testing and trialing, like we would have never ended up where we are, today in December.
I mean, I think it's very important for like young content creators to understand like the waves that it's going through right now and that it does require the testing. I heard Mr. Beast talk about like a lot of A/B testing of like how long something should be on the screen, what color captions you should use and all that stuff. So I know you went through probably all that stuff. Do you edit your own content? Or did you have people that...
And that's the thing. We were at a huge advantage because we've got a professional thumbnail designer that we work with. We've got the resources to travel to all these events, to script them. We have a full-time editor. We're now working with a YouTube consultant. Like, this is the thing. We're investing so much into this. So we're at a major advantage. And the majority of people don't have that luxury, but it doesn't mean it's not possible. Like, if you really commit to it, the problem today is everyone assumes they see the TikTok star who got famous in 6 weeks. And they're like, okay, if my content's not hitting in 6 weeks, right, it's not good. And then they'll give it 6 months, which is, I'll give them credit. You work hard on something in 6 months, you still don't see a success. I always say, if you commit to 10 years, which is insane to think about. But if you commit to 10 years, I have no doubt in my mind you would be successful creating content. If you're an accountant, you're committing to 30 years of being an accountant, right? And so if by year 4, you're not the top accountant at the firm, no one at the Thanksgiving table is like, why haven't you made it, right? But then you're making content 4 years, you haven't made it. They're like, you're so silly, you're on social media, right? But give it like a true long-term view. And I would bet on that person all day.
I love that.
Dude,
that's good.
To piggyback off that, I've always, the like 3 pillars that I always would fall back on, bro, has a lot to do with what you're saying, Jack. Number 1 is if I genuinely enjoy what I'm doing. That's number 1. Mm-hmm. Number 2, if the answer to number 1 is yes, you genuinely enjoy it. Number 2, I'll figure out a way to monetize it down the road.
Yeah.
Now look, I'm pretty transparent, bro, with everything. Like, I kind of put all my shit out there. The pod doesn't do well enough in order for me to just be able to just record. Yeah. That's the dream. Yeah. I want to have some like Joe Rogan, Pat McAfee shit where I have my buddies come on, we talk shit, we're drinking beers, and we're giving out sports bets, giving out sports takes, right? That's what everyone's goal is. But I'm like a hustler, bro, like from New York. And I know you got that same kind of swag and attitude about you where I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to get shit done until I get to that.
Yeah.
And this is the most successful year I've ever had, both financially, both like mentally, super fucking happy, which is something I couldn't say not too long ago. And like the show, the big reason why like jujitsu means a lot to me is like, it's the same thing, right? Like, bro, today I got my ass whooped, like bad. Right. 2 days ago, I went in there and I was ragdolling people. Like, this is what happens. It's like, yo, it's not going to be an overnight thing. And eventually, if you keep showing up and getting shit done, like, yo, it's going to keep building and keep building. And that's like a big microcosm of everything that you're saying with this stuff too. But also on the flip side, fucking crazy to give up 600,000 subscribers on the YouTube channel. Come on.
No, that's nuts.
But yo, I commend you too, because like not a lot of people would do that.
Yeah.
Like I would be scared to do that.
We thought about selling it. It's hidden. So it's not like actually deleted from, but to me, it's like worthless. Like genuinely, the content we put out on there, it will not perform. So like it's vanity metrics, we have 600,000 subscribers, but like
people love that. There are so many people that are playing the game
right
in a very fake way.
Exactly. And then fakes get exposed. You know,
Yeah.
that's what happened. Right. So like, for example, we were pitching Amazon on partnering for our Thursday night tour that we're on right now. And I think that was a large part of why we didn't delete it until later in the season, because we didn't end up partnering with them. But like a huge pushing point was like, hey, we have 600,000 subscribers on YouTube. But had we gone 12 weeks into the season and the content had 800 views per video, what would that mean to them? Nothing. Versus now, we just had a 20,000 view video. It's like, that is what they want. They want the viewership. So the subscriber count really doesn't matter. So yeah, TBD if we do anything with the channel in the future. But the new channel is definitely, with less than 1,500 subscribers. It's cooking. The YouTube algorithm is finding our people.
That's great. I'm going to sub right now.
I appreciate it.
I'm going to have all the links to all of Jack's stuff in the description of the episode. I do want to dive into football for sure, because our three teams are all going in opposite directions. He's a Saints fan. His is kind of just like staying afloat. Even though like my team's a game back of a wild card, which is
how are we 6-point
tied for
favorites?
the division?
Yeah, which is wild.
6-point favorites versus you guys. What happened? The line opened up at like Saints were 2.5-point favorites, and then it jumped to 6. Any reason? I don't know.
So usually what would happen is, since the Giants won on Monday, the line would move in favor of the Giants, but it's moving away.
Yeah. That's why I was like, is Tommy DeVito not playing? But he is.
No, he's just started the rest of the way. I think it's a good matchup.
Well, yeah, we're playing each other this week. I mean, like we should definitely address it that the Saints, I think if we have Taysom Hill, like we dominate you guys. I think Taysom Hill was activated. That's what it was. They didn't think Taysom Hill was playing.
Taysom Hill's worth a field goal to the spread now?
Yeah, when the Saints, he's the most important player on the Saints. Like, so, without a doubt.
Hold on. I'm glad that he's here, because he doesn't know this take that you have. He thinks Taysom Hill is a Hall of Famer.
I do. I think it's like similar to whenever you can just be the only person in the sport to have done something. And then, like I said, he is the best player on the Saints this year. And for the last 8 years, he's been the most consistent player on the Saints.
Has he been there 8 years now?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think, or something like that.
So he's not a Hall of Famer, because I was just playing some trivia and it was like, who were the players most recently inducted to Hall of Fame? And it like, we were guessing, and I said out loud, I'm like, what actually is the bar for the Hall of Fame? Like you never really think about what that line is. And there were some, like, Reggie Wayne's on the Hall of Fame. Julius Peppers isn't yet in the Hall of Fame. Like, I don't think Taysom Hill is going to be in the Hall of Fame. I get what you're saying from like this unique angle.
Yeah, no, I'll settle for a big
and the
statue,
contract he got,
the largest statue outside of the facility as possible. I mean, like, it's just crazy, dude. It's crazy that we pay Michael Thomas, Chris Olave, we got Derek Carr making hella money, Jameis Winston, and Taysom Hill is our best player. Yeah, but he did get a nice little payday. But
a lot of people got angry with that.
I want him to. Okay, if he plays linebacker and has leads the league in interceptions this season,
okay, sure,
Hall of Famer,
sure. I'll sign
why
off
not
on that.
do it? Why not do it?
Yo, now that I didn't think about asking for the Hall of Fame, but one of my most passionate takes is I think Devin Hester is definitely a Hall of Famer.
Yeah. Yeah, especially if we're gonna push like
Taysom Hill.
I think that is crazy. Like, you got to accept who he was. He was the best returner of all time. Like, how is the best? I think the best kicker of all time should be in the Hall of Fame. I think the best punter of all time, the best long snapper of all time should be in the Hall of Fame. And no offense to like Reggie Wayne, but he's not the best wide receiver of all time. He's not top 5, top 10, whatever it may be. So I get why he's not in. I can't understand why Devin Hester's not a Hall of Famer.
I've felt so passionate about this for years, because I was saying this like when he was still playing. This was before I even created content. I was like, bro, like you said, if you were the GOAT at your position, you're a Hall of Famer, bro.
It's also, there's probably like 2 players in the history of the sport that you specifically designed against. One, Calvin Johnson, like that famous picture where he's being double teamed at the goal line. Was it against the Saints?
I think it was against the Saints. Yeah.
Great defense.
Right. Like, great.
Very
but, like,
smart.
That's never been done ever again. And then 2, like, you wouldn't kick to Devin Hester. And the one time, like the whole thing was, we're not going to kick to him to open the Super Bowl. We're not going to kick to him. And then they kicked to him. And his one return to open the Super Bowl, he houses because that's who he was. He was the GOAT.
Teams preferred kicking out of bounds and you starting at the 40 as opposed to letting this guy return. Like that's wild.
That's different.
That's so crazy, man.
But have you seen Taysom Hill in a goal line package, bro? Like fucking 5 yards out?
I was at the Superdome for the Thursday game against the Jags, and I bet on Taysom to score because he did have a slow start to the year. Because I don't think...
Yeah, no,
what happens is they bring in... Yeah,
that's what happens.
They bring in the new quarterback. They think like, okay, we can't mess up the mojo with Carr and Hill, and then it's like, all right, Hill's the best player. Just ride him till...
I mean, he's so good. Like, just think about you would like him on the Ravens. You would love him on the Giants. I mean,
I'd like a lot of things on the Giants, bro. So that's not really saying much.
He may be the most appealing player to have in the league. Let's be real.
Yo, Jack.
You guys' silence kills me.
Yeah,
you guys can either clown me or
I'm
be on my side.
I'm with you.
Okay. All right. I just need to know.
I'm with you, George.
I don't know where I stand when there's silence.
I think Jack is being polite. It's the first time you guys met. Next time you guys meet, he's going to be like, yo, bro, that's a crazy take.
I mean, no. The Hall of Fame is a crazy take.
Hall of Fame is...
But Taysom Hill he's a good player.
Yeah, no, he's definitely a good player. And he's done well for himself for what his career was supposed to be to doing what he's now. Yeah, exactly. For those that don't know, Jack, he mentioned it before. He is a Ravens fan. Ravens are one of the best teams in the league, currently the top seed in the AFC. I'm a big defender of Lamar Jackson. Last year, I had a video that went viral, did really, really well for the show, where I said he's the most disrespected quarterback of his generation in the sense of all his peers have gotten paid. And he's better and has been more successful than all his peers, with the exception of Pat Mahomes, which, sorry, like, obviously, that's the rare breed, right? Yeah. But he's won more than Justin Herbert. He won more than Kyler Murray. He's won an MVP. He's had a better record than Josh Allen. Like, everybody else that got paid prior to him getting paid, he's gotten paid now. Like, he was better than all those guys. And then, obviously, the Watson contract comes and you're like, how does this guy not get paid? And this guy got paid, right? So I'm a big proponent of Lamar Jackson. However, come playoff time, they have some issues. Though I think this year is completely different because now he also has weapons. It's a different Lamar. It's a different Ravens.
Yeah.
As a Raven fan, try to be unbiased, which I think you do a good job of, like, being pretty logical with your teams. That's another reason why I gravitate to your content and to you. How do you feel about them going into January?
I actually just tweeted about it. I thought the win against the Rams was a really big moment for the Ravens, right? The Ravens over the last few years with Lamar, in the Lamar years, I mean, the reason why I'll defend Lamar to the grave is because he's the winningest quarterback to ever play the sport in the regular season. So then you ask about January. And the Ravens' issues, what are they? They blow like weird leads to weird teams. And I thought Sunday against the Rams, you had the defense just getting destroyed by Matt Stafford, supposed to be the best defense in football. Then defense shuts it down the second half and Lamar leads a major comeback. Then the Rams break through again, game goes into overtime, and then special teams wins the game. That's like a win where normally if a player like Stafford is balling like that, you don't win that game. Like, you just caught a guy on his best day, his best game, and you lose the game. It happens. And they won that game. So to me, that's more impressive than blowing out the Lions, blowing out Seattle, beating, Cincy twice this year. Playoffs, I don't know if we have enough time for me to go game by game and break down, but like his first playoff game, that's real. That was bad. Lamar Jackson, his rookie year, he couldn't throw. That was like a thing. Like, they ran him into the ground, and then the playoffs, it got exposed. The next few times in the playoffs, 8 drops against the Titans. Lamar accounts for 500 all like total yards rushing and passing with 8 drops. They went to the red zone like 9 times, failed, miserably. The Bills game where they go and win in Tennessee, which was an impressive win. They go to Buffalo, and if J.K. Dobbins picks up a block, the whole story about Lamar Jackson is very different. He throws an easy touchdown pass. Instead, he throws a pick 6, which it happens. Like, it is not it has not come to fruition. Then the injuries, and that's where I think people started to pile on. Now you don't have playoff success. Now you missed the end of the season a couple times. So now like people are like that. Where I'm at on the Ravens, elite defense, and you've got a play caller that Lamar Jackson trusts. I don't think if you're outside of Baltimore, you understood like how bad Greg Roman was. And it was the same playbook every single time with him. Everywhere he went, Buffalo, San Francisco, Baltimore, installs this amazing package. Remember Colin Kaepernick?
Mm-hmm.
And then remember like year 2 and 3 of Kaepernick? Yep. It all falls apart because he can't adjust. He has no pass game. You get Todd Monken. You finally get any semblance of weapons. Like, we're not talking, like, people now give Mahomes all these excuses.
But there weren't any for Lamar.
Lamar Jackson. I mean, outside of Hollywood Brown, Willie Snead, Demarcus Robinson, Deshaun Jackson was playing for the Ravens last year. It was borderline insane. So I think that like you have all the pieces. The AFC is wide open. You can get the 1 seed. It's the year to beat Mahomes. It's the year that Jacksonville is going to, like Miami, do you take them seriously? The one threat to me is Buffalo. Like that is the biggest fear to me. It's always been Buffalo. I don't get caught up in like the ebbs and flows of things, right? Like people had Jalen Hurts as the second best quarterback in the NFL going into the year. Then he was for 6 games. Now he's not, right? I don't do it like that. I like to actually look at the full landscape of things. And I think the Ravens have put together a pretty good resume to say they're someone to be messed with coming into, the later months.
They should have 11 wins right now. They're lost to the Colts.
They should be undefeated.
Yeah. They're lost to the Colts. I brought up, it was week 3 and Devin Duvernay, with the punt at the end of the game, didn't like run it to the 2-minute warning. And then they had a 19-second drive and then the Colts go down and win it. So like I took the Lions in an exacta at the beginning of the year, Lions to defeat the Ravens.
Okay.
It was looking really strong at the beginning of the year. Now the Lions have just fucking like looked really bad. But
that's the thing. It's
the Ravens
1 or 2
have
game
always been
stretch
a lot
for Detroit, and then everyone's like they're frauds. Miami. I mean, if Miami puts away Tennessee on Monday Night Football, they're the 1 seed, and people are like, maybe this is actually the year. They blow that game, now they're frauds, right? It's like you can't get too caught up. The team that I actually think is fraudulent based off their entire season is Philly. Like I will keep hammering. They lucked into 3 or 4 serious wins. And obviously you got to give credit to teams who pull wins out, right? Mm-hmm. But it became too common a theme. And then when their luck ran out, it's not like they were on the wrong side of the coin. They got blown out by Dallas. They got blown out by the
49ers.
By the 49ers. And now they play the Giants twice. So, and the Cardinals, they'll probably land strong. That's a team I'll be fading in the postseason.
Well, and to your point about the Eagles, they got blown out by the really good teams. And like for me, that's a big metric, bro. Like, dude, I remember the Ravens. I had shot this video when Lamar and the Ravens hosted the Pats on like a Sunday night game, the year he won MVP. Pats were undefeated. Mm-hmm. They're like 8 or 9-0, Georgia, I think they were. And I remember saying like, yo, you could get Lamar Jackson right now, plus 500 for MVP. And the Ravens were like a -1 point favorite. It was like one of those like fishy lines of like.
One of my biggest bets ever, yeah.
It was a really weird line. And I remember just saying like, yo, if you really think the Ravens are going to win this game, why don't you just bet Lamar to win MVP plus 500 as opposed to the money line? That year, the Pats were like 9-0, but they played
so the Ravens blow them out, and the game actually got close because of like a fumble or something, and then they still blow them out. They then go and play Houston the next week. I take alternate spread again against. They weren't that good. It was like the fake Brady year.
Yeah, and that was the last year that he was in New England, and I was big on the Titans money line in the playoff game. I didn't
see that one coming though.
His last play as a Patriot was a pick 6.
Yep.
Iconic.
So good.
As a Giants fan, I'm sure that was the cream of the crop.
I don't dislike Brady and the Patriots. So like we won when it mattered. So to me, it's always been like, all right, cool. Yeah. But to troll people, like I know you guys have bloodbaths with them all the time.
Yeah. I mean, we were it was the Ravens. I think the Ravens and the Giants, that's probably like why I enjoy adopting the New York Eli Manning, Joe Flacco, same thing to me, right? Like both the battles against the Patriots, the 2 teams that they didn't want to see were the freaking Ravens, and it wasn't Peyton Manning, it wasn't anyone else. They just didn't want to see Eli Manning or Joe Flacco. It was crazy to think about.
You never would have had that in your mind looking at the AFC then, that or just the landscape of the NFL, that those would be the guys, not Rivers and the
wonder
Chargers,
who-
who
yeah.
always Big Ben, right?
Yeah.
With the Steelers, the Triple Bs. It's like, no, that dude out of Delaware with the Ravens is who I really got to worry about.
Who would that be now? You got me thinking.
That's a great
Who
question.
would that be?
Who's like just the guy you don't want to see in the playoffs? I don't know if there is one.
Maybe
right
it's Flacco now with the Browns.
it's still
now.
Flacco,
It
bro.
is.
Hold on,
Like,
it's still
Ravens
Flacco.
fans are the teams we don't want to play.
Yo, how
Buffalo
poetic.
and Flacco. If Flacco comes to M&T at like
Oh my God.
we'll lose that game 10 times out of 10. I do not want to see Flacco. I do not.
Yo,
Who is the guy right now? I don't know if there is one. I think it's because it's almost tough. People don't have that leeway anymore. Like Joe was so average for so long, but you knew in January Joe. Players don't really have that. If anyone, honestly, it's probably like Stafford, where you just wouldn't want to see, because great Stafford is
Yep.
great.
Yeah.
Stafford could also throw 3 picks and they're out of the playoffs in a game.
Yeah,
but
yeah. And 2 of them being house calls the other way.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I wouldn't want to see Stafford if I'm in the, like, go think about the NFC, right? If the Niners get the 1 seed, who don't they want to see? Obviously, Philly and Dallas are going to be the 2 favorite ones, but like they would see Minnesota in a second. They would see Jordan Love in a second. But if Matt Stafford sneaks in at 8 and 9, same division, they wouldn't want to see Matt Stafford.
Especially
I feel
this
like
version
in
of the
the-
Rams too.
Yeah.
The
bro.
AFC might be Russell Wilson. Is it too early?
I don't hate
Is it-
that. No, I think
think
that's
it might
probably the
be-
closest comp because Sean Payton. So you got the veteran coach, you got the experienced winning quarterback, and you got a good defense. And they'll run the ball and they'll shorten the game and they'll funk things up a little bit. So yeah, I like that
Could
call.
be that. Wow,
I mean, you don't want to see Josh Allen. That's obvious.
Yep.
But the guy you don't really want to see, maybe it is the Broncos.
Yeah, but like Eli and Flacco were never of the Josh Allen
No.
stat. So I'm trying to think of
no,
like
so
kind of
it
mid
might be
quarterbacks.
like
this
Gardner
like
Minshew.
nowadays Russ really is that
Right.
level.
Yeah, no,
I
that's
mean,
a
worse
fair,
almost.
That's a fair assessment, dude.
maybe Minshew makes a run. Like,
could.
because he has the look of like,
Yes.
like when you look at Flacco, you're like, oh, he's not, polished, but
Yeah.
he gets the job done.
Yeah.
Yo, you know who else has impressed me a lot? Jake Browning,
Yeah.
dude. Jake Browning, because it's easy now they're on this winning streak, right? But Joe Burrow goes down and you're saying to yourself, like, it's done for the Bengals. But if he could just be competent like he's been, like they still got a lot of talent on that team.
I mean, they're considered Super Bowl contender before, right?
Right.
So, and it's not all because of Joe Burrow. I actually was at the game that he got hurt, Ravens Cincy, and they were never really in the game. But when Browning came in, he was really impressive. And I was like, okay, this guy looks like, is it because there's no film on him? Is it because they've kind of gone into prevent? But he's continued it. And he looks like a solid quarterback. And I love to say that Burrow's a system quarterback. As a Ravens fan, I love to throw that
He's a
dig.
system
Like, wow, you
quarterback.
really wasted $200 million when you could have just had, Jake Browning. You could have kept T. Higgins. You could have kept Jesse Bates. But now, what do you do with Jake Browning? What do you do with Tommy DeVito? I mean, these are questions that are going to be asked.
Yo, there's some times when I watch Joe Flacco come in off the couch and win 2 games and, look pretty
Ball.
confident. Yeah. And then
Yeah.
like Tommy DeVito, I'm like, bro, are we overrating quarterbacks? Like, should we just cycle through them like they're running backs and just make sure everything else around them is good? And then
Brock
and then there's-
Purdy, yeah.
And then there's other times where you watch like an elite quarterback go toe to toe. Like I really love that Allen versus Hurts matchup.
Yeah.
Like Hurts played like shit in the first half. Then the second half, we was like, oh, this is the guy we saw in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But then Allen played probably, I think outside of that playoff game, that nutty playoff game
Yeah.
with the Chiefs, I think that was his best game, man.
do you have futures on him to win MVP or just Bills?
I took futures during the bye week on them to make the playoffs at
Okay.
plus 355, them to win the AFC at 30-1, and them to win the Super Bowl at 50-1.
They were 30-1.
Yeah. And then everything got cut in half when they
Yeah.
beat the Chiefs.
Yeah.
And now this week, game of the week, they're playing the Dallas Cowboys, who I think this is a classic. Leave the ISO cam on me. This is a classic, absolute classic Dallas Cowboys letdown spot.
Oh, of course.
This has 38-17 Buffalo written all over it.
Oh yeah, the weather's good too. It's not like it's
a lot of smoke up the Cowboys' ass, and this team is different. And look,
They're courtside at the Mavs game last night.
the vibes are good.
But
Cowboys fans.
all right, is this your Giants bias or this is your unbiased take?
No, this is my unbiased take. Yeah, because I felt that the Dallas Cowboys, year in year out, great talent, great regular season team, have impressive wins. Something happens to them in January, and it's been a common theme every time since Dak has been there.
Do you think obviously you got to see how the game plays out. To me, that's what the Ravens win over the Rams felt like, was like kind of turning a page on what everyone claims them to be. Do you think if they go in and beat Buffalo, you'll feel that way? Or you think, Buffalo, maybe they're actually not that good or whatever the case may be?
No, I think it's exactly that. If they go in there and handle business with Buffalo, or even if they just win that game,
right.
Like, whatever it is, because Buffalo's a tough place to play in. It's a night game. It's going to be a spot where the Bills now, they got to win out, right? So for them, they're playing playoff games the rest of the year. And it's just the smoke that gets blown up their backsides. And America's team, we get all that. They have a very passionate fan base. And they are good. Dak MVP. He's the MVP now, right? Like, who's playing better than Dak the last 10 weeks? And all these things are accurate.
They're true, yeah.
Everything is true. But it just feels like, show me that this isn't the same old Dallas Cowboys. Go in there, get a win. If you blow out the Bills, then I'm like, oh my God, they might go to the Super Bowl. And can you imagine what that's going to be like in Vegas? It's going to be in Vegas too. It's going to be nutty.
I already have my hotel rooms, and one of my buddy is a big Cowboys fan. I've been holding it over him because if the Cowboys go to Super Bowl, we already know Vegas is going to be insanely priced. Super Bowl week. If the Dallas Cowboys are in it, $100,000. I mean, F1 will look like chump change.
I'll sell my house.
Right.
I'll rent my house. I'll leave. Leave.
On the Monday show, for those of you that didn't see the video or didn't listen to that pod yet, this was the Super Bowl matchup. I said, we did like, what would be the craziest storylines?
Yeah.
If you could fantasy book any Super Bowl matchup, how is it not this one, bro?
Dallas, Buffalo,
It's a 30-year anniversary of when they played.
Yeah.
Right? Bills fans have been through hell.
Dallas
fans have been through hell. Bro, the ticket to get into the building will probably be like what you said, like $50K for
So let me tell you what is insane about this conversation. Last year, Pro Bowl was here.
Yeah.
And we came up with a content series because we were going to all these games that we went to Monday Night Football Cardinals at State Farm. I wrote my prediction. It was like week 14 of who I thought would be in the Super Bowl. Hit it in the stadium because they're going to do a whole sweep of the stadium, obviously, before the Super Bowl. I found a private bathroom, put in a ceiling tile and pulled it out. Got millions of views on TikTok because it was like cool, like a little time capsule. So we're here for Pro Bowl. And last year, so I did my 2024 Super Bowl prediction before Lamar to resign, before anything had happened, free agent, before Rodgers, all of this. Hit it in the stadium. So we're going to go check on it tomorrow. And I was looking back on who I predicted and I knew I had put Dallas. I every year I buy into the Dallas hype and I was like, maybe next year will be the year. And I figured I put the Ravens because I always put the Ravens and I put Dallas and Buffalo in the Super Bowl. And so people just love the content in general, if the note's still there. But if I actually got it right a year in advance, Dallas Buffalo would be the most insane thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, you need to start like selling booking appointments for like predicting people's future.
like 3 years down the line. Yo, you and your girl are probably not going to be together. So save yourself the headache now. Let's just have these predictions going down.
You got to pay the $10K up front.
Yeah. We're going to need that now. But dude, how do you feel about this game this weekend, man? Because I think it's going to be very telling either way.
Yeah.
Like, the conversation is going to continue for whoever wins this. And look, one team needs it more than the other. But I don't agree with that. Like, I'm saying, I'm painting the picture. Like, I think it's an important game for the Cowboys too. They have a chance to be the 1 seed, bro. Like, this game matters also.
I know. I just think the Bills see like a sliver of opportunity, and the home field advantage that you get in Buffalo. I've never been. I just have to take it for what it's worth. It is going to be a place in which Dallas played their most important game of the season last week, and they know that they are going to make the playoffs. They're very confident, although they haven't fully locked it in. This is a Dak Prescott 2 interception game. I would definitely, if I see that prop, I would like to put that in, because it's just like a moment where the MVP race is going to reopen back up. And this is a Buffalo Bills route, just like how they did to the Dolphins earlier in the year. It's a good team. I mean, I told you I texted you $100 for them to win the AFC. I don't know if you actually ended up doing that. Did you do that? I told you I had a $100 bill above my desk if you wanted to.
And I said I got you too, and I didn't.
Who keeps a $100 bill above their desk, bro? Like,
I'm gonna make up for it. I promise. I'm gonna make
30 to 1 is what you're gonna make up for.
Christmas is coming. I'll make up for it. That was a terrible for someone that's a grade A D-gen. That was unacceptable.
You're a bad bookie, dude. How can I rely on you as a bookie? Like, this is...
Bro, we live in Vegas.
Yeah,
you could easily just done it yourself.
I was in California. I told you.
Yeah,
that's true. That's true.
No,
Fuck California for not having sports books.
It'd be nice.
And come on.
A whole nother market that could open up for us there.
A rich market. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
It'd be great. I want to mention one thing real quick. And Jack's not going to like this because he's a Ravens fan, but dude, I think the path for a team like my hot take, I think this is going to be the first year that we're going to see a wild card team in the Super Bowl.
Like, since when?
The
I feel like wild card. I mean, the Giants and Ravens would always go for the wild card.
Right. But I'm saying, like, recently it's been like,
it's been the favorites. It's been Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady.
It's been one of the dumbest takes where it's like, what's the team in December and January that's hot? It's like, bro, it's been the 1 seed. Like last year was the 1 seed.
Yeah.
Right. The year before it was the Bengals went into it, but then the Rams were like, they were both 4 seeds. I think it was. That's what it was. But I think this year we're going to get wild card teams in the Super Bowl. Not both, but I think one of them. And I'm hoping, a little bias also. Shout out to Buffalo State. I was a Bengal baby, the 716. I hope it's the Bills. But I think, look, you're looking at the teams that they got to catch, right? The Browns, they're playing well now with Flacco. We were praising them before. Yeah, I think they're going to be in because they also have a game up and their schedule is not.
Am I crazy for saying, like, I don't think the Bills have any chance of missing the playoffs? Is that crazy? That's got to be crazy. I mean, they're plus 120 to make the playoffs, and they play Dallas and Miami, but both those games, well, I guess one's in Miami, but I don't know. Like, Houston, Stroud's not going to play this weekend. I guess the Broncos, I haven't watched much of Denver recently. Apparently they're playing good ball, but like, they could also play Las Vegas and easily lose that game. Buffalo, when Buffalo plays their 2 cakewalk games against New England or whoever it is,
the Chargers now without
they're going to win those games. Then they're a coin flip for the other 2. So I think they win 3 out of the next 4. The problem is they don't have a single tie break.
None.
So they need to get in. But I think they're going to get there. Like, I don't see Pittsburgh winning more than 1 more game this year. I don't see, like, Houston really being in the picture. So I think they're going to get in. And that's going to be terrifying for the 2 seed. And then it's going to be terrifying for the 1 seed. And yeah, that's my biggest fear for the Ravens.
And bro, that got to be so devastating. You're a team like, you're the 2 seed, right? You're like, oh shit, we're good. We're going to play the 7 seed. Yeah. And then the 7 seed is the Buffalo Bills. That was a Super Bowl contender coming into the year. And they got a grade A quarterback, right? Like let me ask you this take, because I have a feeling I know your answer just because you're a little biased with the Ravens. But I was talking about, if you knew for a fact right now, if I told you, Jack, this Sunday, this quarterback is going to have his absolute A+ game.
Yeah.
Who's your number 1 pick?
Patrick Mahomes.
Okay.
I tier the quarterback. So I have 3 tiers. 1 tier is the Patrick Mahomes tier, who I think has benefited greatly from Eric Bieniemy and Andy Reid and starting his career with Tyreek and now Travis Kelce. So like, I don't think we see what he's like without him, but I'm still taking Patrick Mahomes right now. So that's that tier. Then I have a tier where it's guys who are great outside of a system, meaning when things go to shit, they're still going to be good. They're not going to be as good when things are going great, but they're going to be great. Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, I'm trying to think off the top of my head. Like, I don't even put the Dak Prescotts of the world in that. And then there's a tier, and within that tier, it's when things are going well, these guys are really good. When things are going bad, they're not as good. Kirk Cousins is like Brock Purdy, Dak Prescott, like guys who cut Trevor Lawrence. We've seen it. Like T-Law with Urban Meyer, he was like almost bad.
Yeah.
With, Doug, he's better, right? And then there's the guys who suck. Like, it doesn't matter. Maybe they'll play a good game or whatever. So Mahomes is still that guy. After that, I think it's Josh or Lamar for me. I think people don't realize like some of the great Lamar performances of all time are like all time. Like Indy Monday Night Football, 35 of 38, 400 passing yards, 4 touchdowns. Played in LA at the Coliseum, 5 touchdowns in prime time. Like, he's throttled some people. And then Josh Allen can beat you in both ways. Like, I think the Chiefs game is probably, that's the example. And they lost it.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes. That's the thing.
And that's why that game was so iconic, bro, because both guys had their A+ game. And it was just one of those where whoever had it last. Yeah. Or in overtime, whoever got the ball first, right?
Yeah.
So who do you got in that game? Bills, Cowboys.
I told you it's going to be a Bills route.
Okay.
Like I don't think this game is close. It's not one that I'm like even having to struggle to think about. For me, there was another game this week that.
Hold on, who do you got?
I would take the points because I really think these two teams are dead even. And if it got up to 3, I'd be on Dallas. But I don't think it's going to get there. Open 1.5. And then not surprised. I thought it would land 3 and it's already at 2.5. I don't think it'll touch 3. I think what will happen, it'll get to 3. Sharps will hammer Dallas.
Yeah.
Like, because that's the breaking point. I think you lay less than a field goal at home. Buffalo is a good team. But if you get Dallas with a field goal, it's too many points. So I genuinely think it's a coin flip. I wouldn't bet it because I don't think there's an edge there. That's probably an interesting conversation, as we talk sports betting into an NFL market. Like everyone loves to bet the NFL. It's the hardest one. It's impossible. It's the most efficient market in the world. So meanwhile, you didn't bet. If you're betting Buffalo, you should have bet a -1.5 before it moved, right? And if you're betting Dallas, you need to wait. So I just wouldn't bet it. It's the right line, in my opinion. And I think if you're going to be like, hey, I had an edge on this game, you're lying. You're lying to me or you're lying to yourself. You don't have an edge. Like, you might think they're going to blow them out, but if Dallas won the game, you'd be like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
No, if it's one of those games, and I can kind of segue into if you live bet or not, but it's like the first drive will tell you a lot about how this game is going to play. And you can find a good line too if the Cowboys get a touchdown on their first drive. And
or
you're
vice versa.
And you're confident
if you're like, oh, Buffalo's going to go down and score, but that's okay because I think it's a long game.
Mm-hmm.
I've made this point during the Super Bowl when it comes to betting props, and it kind of applies to betting on games too. If you want to bet a prop during the Super Bowl with that coming up, and it's like a favorite, bet it early.
Yeah.
Dogs, bet them late. Yeah. Right? It's like the same thing. Like, we have a segment on the show with my friend Kenny Bets Big, that we do every week. We call it Monday Winners. It's like, yo, you could bet on Sunday, but bet it Monday. Like, you're getting a line now. They might open it up, like you said, -1.5. Bet that then. Because who knows, maybe, just saying hypothetical, what if now Buffalo's -3.5 an hour before kickoff? Right. You just lost 2 points, which is massive now. Massive. You know what I'm saying? So then everything you heard on the Monday and Thursday show goes out the window because the line is 3.5. So sometimes betting favorites, betting props on like popular props, right? Like the best example was Travis Kelce last year. I think his receptions opened up at like 5.5. And then on game day, it got up to 7.5 and he landed on 7. Yeah. So it's like everyone that bet it right after the Bengals game and they put up the props, they hit.
Made out.
The people that waited until Sunday of the Super Bowl.
You're just waiting till the market got efficient.
Yeah.
Like, that's all you're doing.
Yeah. So sometimes you gotta, don't panic. Like, dude, that's really what changed for me with betting. I used to bet, or like when I would play daily fantasy, I throw $20 on one of the apps and I put a lineup together at 12:45 Eastern time. Right. I never won. Then when I started building my lineups out from Tuesday and Wednesday, making my final changes Friday, started winning a little bit. I'm like, oh, this is why they always say to bet it when you should be, as opposed to waiting towards the end.
How do you guys feel about the late activations recently? I feel like this has happened, and maybe this has happened for years before this, but it just seems like all these injury reports lead to a line being a certain way, and then you get the tweet like 2 hours before the game that, you know, the starting quarterback is actually playing.
There has been, I would say NBA, it's impossible.
Oh, bro, there's
NBA
not a sport that's
the
worse.
worst. Yeah, that's the worst. That's why I rarely bet into the NBA, because unless you're sitting at your computer, like on the East Coast, lock was 7:00.
Yeah.
It's like, unless you don't want to eat dinner, you can't play. NFL
and to piggyback off that, bro, I love betting playoff basketball.
Yeah.
Because there, you know, LeBron's going to play 40 minutes.
Exactly.
There's no limits, restriction.
The blowouts, all that stuff. It's brutal.
Yeah.
NFL, historically, like it's baked into the line. This year, though, like you said, and it might be even recency bias the last 2 weeks, like there were, for the first time ever, it felt like true game time decisions. You know what I mean? Like when there's players questionable, you pretty much know if they're playing or not. And then like with Geno Smith, it was like they're going to decide an hour before the game. So in that case, that's where you can get an edge though. You read up on beat reporters and practice reports, like if guys are going or not. It's very rare. If you don't practice on Thursday, you're probably not playing in the game unless it's a playoff game. And, you know, I think that's like Jonathan Taylor didn't practice today, right? I need him for my fantasy playoff. So if you don't practice tomorrow, even if they say it depends, he's out, right? So, yeah, I think you just get to know some of that stuff. But this year, it's been a little weird.
Yeah, no, that Geno Smith one was definitely one that I brought up. I was like, man, I can't really think of it like, because that swings a line a lot.
Yeah, quarterback for sure.
Yeah.
Dude, we got burned by the Deshaun Watson news when they played the Ravens.
Yeah.
We had to lock in our picks for Circa because we took the Thursday night game. Which, by the way, Thursday Night Football this year, like 1-9, like can't be like. And dude, usually Thursday Night Football, one of my edges has always been better quarterback, better head coach. To me, I would just, in my mind, like that's a 3-point edge.
Yeah,
and I would always just gravitate to that. Short week, right? They have a quicker game plan they got to put together, especially if they're at home too. Oh, great spot.
Yeah,
not this year. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, like we were in Pittsburgh last week.
Right,
that's the perfect spot.
Yeah.
Off a loss at home, Mitch Trubisky's starting, but like Bailey Zappi's starting.
Exactly.
And they just got dusted.
Did not work out. Yeah. So we had to lock in the picks. And then before you know it, he wasn't even on the injury report on Wednesday. And then Friday, they're like, oh yeah, he's not playing. We're like, when did this come from? Right. And then Bijan Robinson a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
That was a huge scandal.
That one, I feel like it was disciplinary, but they said it was just a headache. But then they gave him a carry late in the game, which activated all his props, and that one felt weird.
It makes it sketchy, bro, for the people that think this stuff is rigged and that, you know, Vegas made the call. It's some when they present a case like that, it's hard to argue against it.
Let's talk about Vegas making the call. That's what people said when Justin Herbert left the game on Sunday against my bet. So for those who don't know, do you guys play round robins ever?
Only baseball, or when I'm putting in a shit ton of like picks. Yeah.
Does your audience know? Like,
they're familiar with the round robins. I personally, I'll do that. I've done it more this year than ever before.
Yeah.
Because I do this thing for UFC called the subathon. I'll pick 3 to 4 fighters to win by submission, and all of them are
perfect way to play it.
And I'd say that give or take, it's like plus 500, plus 300 for a submission prop. And dude, you hit 2 out of the 3, you could get plus 500, plus 300. I'll round robin those.
Yeah.
And then I'll parlay everything. That's why it's a subathon parlay. But in the past, I never really did them.
Yeah.
But they're,
I'm going to need your UFC picks later in the show, my first UFC event. But I get home from, I was out Sunday morning, get home at like 12:50, get on my FanDuel app in Maryland, and I'm clicking through, just pick like 5 or 6 random props. And like you said, it's when it's a plus odds. Like, don't round robin minus 110 stuff. That doesn't really make a ton of sense. But around robin, you're essentially betting everything in mini parlays altogether. And so the first one was Isaiah Likely first touchdown, plus 1,500. And that's why you don't parlay it, because it's not going to hit, but he scores first. And so I'm like, all right, that's kind of exciting. But in these round robins, you still need 3 of 6 or 4 of 6 to really get interesting. And then the games start going on. Like Bryce Young over 10.5 yards. He's got 40 in the first half. So I'm like, all right, I'm feeling good. Flacco's got 180 at halftime, and I had him to throw for 250 at plus 250. Felt good about that. So then like three get through. And then I forget what the fourth one was, but I went 4 for 4 in the 1 o'clock slate. So I'd already locked in like probably, it was a $400 bet in total. So $10 bets.
Yeah.
And the 2 ones in the afternoon were Herbert to throw for 300 yards plus 250 and Mahomes to throw a pick. That one was even odds. I had the Jets money line against Houston. They won by 3 scores. It was like the weirdest sweat-free crazy bet of my life. Literally first possession, Mahomes throws a pick. And I'm like, holy shit, this just got real. Like, not only did I just lock in $20,000, but if Herbert throws for 300 yards, like, I'm going to win $100,000. And he had 30 yards in the first quarter, but I was rooting for that because he threw a bad pick. They were down 7-0. And like, as much as people want to hate on Justin Herbert, I'm fine with it. The one thing he does, he picks up garbage yards. Like he just accrues yards in garbage time, empty calories. And when you bet on someone to have empty calories, I'm all for it. And so we got up to like 90 yards and the Broncos punted with 2 minutes left. So he was going to get the 2-minute drill. And everyone knows that's where you like get a lot of yards. They go into prevent, let you pick up 40, 50 yards. And he got hurt. And I was like devastated only because I just wanted that sweat. And so people, I tweeted out the slip beforehand. People are like, you better be hedging. Because Mahomes had literally already thrown an interception. And so I was trying to explain to people, like, it was a round robin, so there was no cash out. And the cash out probably would have been like 40 grand, which because it was a round robin and I had locked in 20 grand, I was just going to let it ride. Like that's the degenerate in me. Because you've locked in
20.
Like there's people who will have that bet, right? I could have put $50 on that whole parlay to win 100 grand and been left with nothing. There, I'm like, yeah, you should cash out. Because that's real. I mean, that's insane money. But I had locked in that floor. And so I would have let it ride. But people are like, you got to hedge. And I tried explaining to those people, number one, the game was live. Number two, it was an alternate prop, right? So Justin Herbert, 300 yards. He had 30 yards in the quarter. It would have been like minus 500, right? For him not to throw for that. So then you got to figure out, okay, I want to lock in 20 grand. So I'm going to go put $80,000 in my betting account. Where am I getting that money from?
And then what happens if he does throw for 300 yards?
Right. And so I only made a couple bucks, and there's no sportsbook in the world who's letting you get down 80 grand on an in-game Justin Herbert prop. There's just not. Like, unless you're a VIP bettor and you know the guys at DraftKings or MGM, whoever it might be. So yeah, I was bummed to not get the sweat, and people were making the joke like Vegas made the call. And I don't know how I felt about it because Easton Stick threw for 170 yards in the second half. And I was like, if Easton Stick threw for 170, I feel like Herbert was going to get there.
250.
Yeah,
dude.
Yeah.
Fuck, that's tough.
Yeah. But it's not. Like,
yeah, you still made your 20K.
Still made a crazy amount of money. But
that was recently.
Yeah.
Oh,
it was on Sunday. Yeah. That's why I can afford to be in Vegas this week.
Yeah. Have fun at the blackjack table. Fountain
Still
Blue.
on the $25 limits.
Are you indulge in like table games? You into
yeah.
What games do you like playing?
So after Pittsburgh, they have a really cool setup. There's not much around the stadium besides the casino. So after the game, thousands of people just filter into the casino. It's a good vibe. It's like people dressed in suits or like Pittsburgh Steelers jerseys. And so I hate blackjack. Blackjack to me, it's the highest EV game, even though it's still negative EV, but you're just robotic. Like there's never a decision to be made. 2 against 2, maybe. Like you can decide, do you want to hit or let the dealer play it? I find a lot of the time, because of the games I'm playing in, I'm not in the high rollers, that like in Pittsburgh, I'm sitting, 2 seats from the right, guy sits down at the end. I go, do you know how to play? My biggest fear is the guy who fucks it up at the end of the table.
Right.
And he goes, yeah. So I'm like, all right, breathe, Jack. Like, you're good. First hand, he's got 15 against a dealer's, king, and he stays. And I'm like, I'm not playing. Like, I'm not playing. Like, I can't. That's not fun to me.
Yeah.
But that's what blackjack is in general. There's you're essentially playing automated against the house. So I like playing craps, which I know is a lower game. Same with the roulette, but it's more fun for me. The way I look at casino or table games, that is for the fun of the bet. Versus sports betting, same thing. I'm really just in it to have a good time, not to like make, any serious bets or anything like that. But at least that's not robotic. Like, I'm making decisions based on what I think is going to happen.
Right.
So I feel like, that's what we tell ourselves. We're smarter than the next guy.
Yeah. Well, I love that you mentioned craps because I tell everybody that's probably the funnest game you could play at a casino, especially when you go with a group of friends.
You get a hot roll.
When I would come out here with my friends, we'd be like 15, 20 deep, right? So we would go to the tables around like this time or maybe even earlier, like right after breakfast. We'd be like, hey, look, there's like 20 of us. Could we like maybe close down the table from like 7 to 8? And they'd be like, yeah, you got to guarantee like a certain minimum, which would be like 3-4K. But there's 20 of us. So what is it? Like 200-300? Yeah, like it's perfect. And like, bro, like you said, someone gets on a hot roll. You're like, yo, George is the man. Jack comes in, craps out. You're like, oh, fucking Jack. I knew I should have pulled out. Like that's the coolest game to play, man. Roulette. I have one rule with roulette: one spin and go.
Yeah,
that's my thing. I can't do.
I can't stay.
I go. I do. I'll come in with the crowd. So if you're like, yo, I got 500 on red.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm in on red. Also, I won't be like, oh, I'm gonna do black now. Like, no, I'm not gonna be that guy.
Yeah,
I'm in.
Yeah.
But I always bet number 10. It's my favorite number. I always bet number 10.
Yeah. So I'm 23, and then that's my birthday. But also the greats, MJ, LeBron. All the greats were 23. And then we went to a casino in Atlantic City and we're playing. And this guy, I mean, this is like your classic trust fund kid, daddy's money. And he's got, we can't even tell what number he's on because he's got so many black chips stacked on the number, on the corners of the number, split on the number. It was like he was building a fortress around this number. And so we pulled up and we're like, I mean, we'll play our own numbers, but like we're fucking riding with this guy.
You got it. You never want to be that guy when they got like 10K on the number. You're like, I gotta throw some on that too.
Right.
Bro.
Like
you just feel bad. It's FOMO.
You feel
FOMO. It's extreme FOMO.
It's FOMO, and it's also like I don't want you to have $1,000 on a number, and then I have my $5 chips on a different number, and then I hit mine, and I'm like, all right, I won my, what would that be?
Right.
Like,
the
$140 and you just lost 1,000. It's like, that's how I think of it, bro.
So,
like, I want to
we pull up on this guy and he did lose 2 or 3 rolls on this number. And then on the, whatever it was, the 4th roll, he hits the number, the number 8, and which then became my secondary number. Lamar Jackson wears 8. So it kind of became, the alternate to red 23, black 8. And you would have thought like we literally stopped everyone in the casino because the roar at that table. I mean, he must have won hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we each won like a couple $1,000 because we were all on the number, and literally we were hugging the guy. He's kissing like we'd never met him in our life. I mean, I look around the casino and everyone's just like, what just happened over there? Escorted to the thing. It was an amazing moment. And that's what table games are to me. You can have those runs in blackjack every once in a while. You get like same thing. Your boys at the table, the dealer's busting, everyone's going crazy. But roulette, you hit a number. Craps, you have a crazy roll. Those are the most fun to me.
Agreed.
And bro, when you're on like,
but do you guys play in Vegas?
Nah, dude, I haven't played. I think the 2 times I've played any table games, I had people come and visit.
Yeah.
My buddy Danny came for the Steeler game. We hit the tables a little bit before dinner. And then outside of that, my parents came for Christmas last year, and my dad loves the standing roulette for some reason. I've heard it's the worst game to play. It's worse than the actual real roulette. My dad loves it though. Shout out to my pops.
Standing roulette.
And it's like the Wheel of Fortune looking one. It's like the one where the dealer like cranks it down and it goes spinning.
Gotcha.
But dude, besides, bro, I wouldn't be able to survive. Dude.
Yeah.
Like truthfully, man, I moved out here when I was 31. Jack, I don't think I'd be as self-aware if I was 21. I don't know if I'd be having the same comment. It's different, bro. Like I grew up and I also like playing poker.
Yeah.
Like I was a poker kid. I was on the online scene a while back. Like I hit that like 3-4 year stretch where I was going to Mohegan Sun. I go to Atlantic City. Like every other weekend I was doing that. But out here, bro, I haven't played poker not once. I'm really busy with everything I'm doing. And also like, bro, I'm in the casino 6 days a week. I'd be on the Las Vegas Boulevard with a red cup asking for change if I was doing this shit.
I think that's what the locals realize, which is you come here for a weekend and like, I could win this weekend. I could win a lot. But if I came back 14 consecutive weekends, I'm going to lose. Yeah. Or this building wouldn't be here most likely. So
they don't
it's like it's a race to the end. Yeah. It's a race to E.
Locals look at this like you're going to war. Yeah. Like the good gamblers, it's like every time you step into a casino, it's game day. Like you have to look at it like that, or else that's like you said, how they fund these places.
Yeah, the studio is too nice to be from people winning at the craps table.
Exactly. They're not doing
Nick's amazing show, right?
You know what I'm saying? Jack, what brought you to Vegas, man, besides the Thursday night game?
Yeah, so hitting our first UFC event. So this hat I've got on, Slate. Have you guys, you're in the fitness industry. Have you heard of Slate Milk?
I have not, no.
So Slate, they started as just like a healthy chocolate milk, right? Everyone knows you work out chocolate milk. I think they cut down the sugars, fats, etc. And so their growth over the last few years honestly been explosive to the point where they're a sponsor of UFC. So they hooked us up. We're getting to go to like a press conference. We're getting to go to the PI out here. And then I've never been, for as big of a sports fan and everyone telling me to go, I've never made it out to a UFC event. And I've heard that Saturday night's a decent one to get my fix on.
Bro, welcome to the club. I think it's the best in-person sporting event of all the sports.
All right, so explain to me why, describe why, because I've been Super Bowl, NBA final, like I've been very lucky. I've seen the World Series and I am obsessed with like a great environment, great energy, and WWE, which I'm not a fan of. I went to at MSG, the obsession. Yeah. You could almost feel like I didn't like it just because I didn't know the characters. It's not real. I don't know if people know that, but like what is it about that UFC event that you think makes it the best live event?
It's the best live event because the pacing of it is also perfect. Example, us two go to the event on Saturday. We're sitting together. We watch the one fight. We finish our beers. Yo, Jack, it's your turn to go get the beer. You're not going to be like, fuck, man, I'm going to miss something. You know you have a 20-minute window. You go take your piss. You go on your smoke break. You go get the concessions. You could do all that. You go see your friend in the other section. You're good, right? That's number one. Number two, it's fighting, bro.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it's the only thing where in every other sport, there's no like the animalism of it. People get pulled off one another. Like Draymond Green slapped the shit out of Nurkic yesterday. That was crazy. That looked like a right hook that was coming in. But it's the aura of it. When Bruce Buffer grabs the mic, and he's like, God. We are live. When he does that, you're going to get chills. The promo package that they play when they dim all the lights down. And I think it's the carnage of fighting, bro. You're seeing two guys or two girls go in there to beat the shit out of each other for your enjoyment. And there's nothing like it. And especially when you go to a card in Vegas and a card like the one you're going to, card of the year, top to bottom, like it is stacked. A lot of crazy storylines. And I would say it's like going to International Fight Week in July is like their Super Bowl. They have their Hall of Fame. It's a whole thing, right? This would be like going to the AFC Championship game and it's your favorite team playing in it. And this is your first football game ever. Like that's how like high the standard is. You know what I mean? Like it's the fight capital of the world and the card is sick. There's a lot of fan favorites. There's a lot of guys that are highly questionable fan favorites too.
When's the subathon come out?
Subathon comes out every Friday.
Okay. I'm gonna need to dial in.
Yeah. And dude, there's like the main event, Covington and Leon Edwards.
Yeah.
So backstory, Leon Edwards for the longest time was not a fighter. So like there's a term in the fight game where they call someone the boogeyman. It's like the guy that people don't want to face, right? With Leon, it was different. He just couldn't get fights booked, right? Because he was over in England too. So like there were visa issues and then COVID happened and he was always just like number 4 in the rankings. And then guys wouldn't want to fight him. He wouldn't want to fight down because there's a thing like a hierarchy in the UFC where if George is the champ in our weight class and you're the number 3 fighter and I'm number 9, you have way more to lose. I have way more to gain. So you'd be like, I'm only fighting George or I'm going to fight Mike, who's the number 1 contender. Like I'm not fighting back is a term you hear.
Yeah.
So Leon was on this like crazy winning streak, but like he's not cool. And what I mean by that is in the end of the day, it's a business, right? And it's entertaining. That's why Conor McGregor sells. That's why his opponent, Colby Covington, sells. Sean Strickland, Sugar Sean, O'Malley. These guys, like, they're polarizing, but they're captivating too, right? So you got to get on there. And that's why there's a lot of parallels between WWE and UFC because it's like the promo work, the mic work, right? Like Colby Covington went into Brazil and just shitted on the whole country, like in the favelas. And you're like, hey, man, that's a little crazy. Like, don't be doing that. But then that became his character and his gimmick, right? Yeah. And with Leon, like technically, he's like the perfect fighter. His striking, he has a solid ground game, cardio machine too. And then Colby on the flip side, like the MMA purist, bro. And I'm a fan of Chaos, and it's funny that his nickname is Colby Chaos Covington. If Colby Covington wins on Saturday, and that's who I think is going to win this fight, people are going to go ape shit.
Why?
Number one, he's, I use the word polarizing a lot, but like, he's like super MAGA super.
Before we came in here, he literally said like, LeBron James, you're a spineless coward.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, he gets at everybody, right? And like, he's like, he dives into the MAGA Trump character, right? And like, it's very split, as you've seen on social media, if you just have a social media. And also, like, MMA standpoint, he's 2-2 in his last 4 fights. He hasn't fought since March of 2022.
Whoa.
And his last 2 wins are against 2 guys that are no longer in the UFC and were like on the down bad of their career.
Yeah.
Like Woodley was on a crazy losing streak and then Jorge Masvidal he beats. And it's like, he just hasn't fought and he's just waited for this title shot. So there's like some conspiracy that, oh, he's Dana's boy. He's just going to get spoon-fed this title shot. So if he wins, all the like MMA purists are like, oh, it's got to be by the rankings.
Yeah.
They're going to lose their mind.
Yeah.
So Austin filled me in on the whole like MAGA thing. So I was like, oh, where's Trump going to be tomorrow? Or like, where's Trump going to be? And he's going to be in New Hampshire, but I mapped it out. He's in Reno on Sunday.
Oh, so
which means, he's doing his little New Hampshire thing, getting on a flight. That's what you need to get on camera. Because that Trump walkout with Dana is it'll be the loudest the arena gets all night.
Really?
You'll see. Like without a doubt, I know that.
The crew. Is Dana, Kid Rock will randomly be there? You're like, what the fuck is Kid Rock doing? Like, wait, where was Kid Rock all this time? He's just in the crew. But
what are the odds for that fight?
It's
plus 130 right now. Colby.
Oh, okay. So
on UFC's website.
Colby plus 130. Leon was like minus 150.
Yep.
I think that's fair. You know, there's a thing in the fight game too, where like when someone becomes a champion, they get like 25 to 30% better because you're confident, right? Like you feel like you're the man because you are. And it's weird, like with Covington, man, it's styles make fights, right? Covington, he's a wrestler. He walks you down. Like he's known for his cardio also. But then Leon is really slick with the striking. Like he has the head kick against Usman, which even if you're not a UFC fan, like you've seen that.
It was viral.
You know, it was viral. It was the last minute of the fight where he was getting, dude, they flashed the live odds. It was minus 1800 was Usman before that round. And then he wins on a legit Hail Mary. Like that's the Hail Mary of the UFC. And then the rest of the card, like you have a co-main that got a title fight, which that fight.
Who's that fight?
Pantoja versus Roybal.
Okay.
Plus 180. Fight ends by submission.
Okay. No, you're not even picking a winner.
No.
You don't care.
Fight ends by submission. 2 guys that they're some of my favorite guys to bet on because they either get finished or get finishes.
Yeah.
And it's like, those are the best because, you know, you don't got to worry about decisions. And in the off chance you do, it's like a 30% chance that it goes the distance. Fine. But for the most part, it's like, that's my favorite bet on the card.
Okay. That's my favorite bet is to go to the distance. It's the sweat. It's the ultimate sweat.
Oh,
I
if
fucking
you're into
love it.
Because like you want to sweat.
I love it.
Worst worst bets to make.
Just
fight goes the
fight goes the
distance.
Oh yeah.
Because it's like you're not rooting for any like action.
Yeah.
But then, dude,
It's
when
like betting the under.
it's like betting the under.
Although you need the
Except
longest.
intense, bro. I mean, this dude's getting pounded out. You're like, hold on, motherfucker.
Also,
hold on.
also, I would say though, I've seen some fights where it's like, are they not going to call this fight because the guy's just getting mauled, and then he like comes back to life and makes it? That's probably like an electric.
Oh, the sweat,
Fight
your
goes
heart
the
attack. You
distance.
come back. Oh,
Oh, dude,
You made
yeah.
it.
or the flip side is when you have like a guy to win by a finish. He has him up against the cage, and you're like, oh my god, here it comes. And then like they weather the storm. You're like, oh man, and you just know, right? It's like
Yeah.
momentum in any sport.
Yeah.
Just completely flips.
Yeah.
But dude, I'm excited to hear about. I'm gonna definitely text you about it, man. I want to hear like what you thought about the event, dude. Because
I mean, I anticipate it being awesome.
it's
so I
gonna
can't
be
wait.
sick, man. Like I feel like Dana White owes me money because I tell everybody like, bro, you gotta go in person
Yeah.
to watch a card. Because if you are even remotely interested, which you are, or else you wouldn't be going, bro, you're hooked now. It's just crazy. And like I said before, just imagine you're going to a conference championship game for your first ever football game.
Yeah.
It just so happens to be your favorite team in it.
Yeah.
Like that's what it's gonna feel like, and it's just
Can't wait.
fucking out of control, man.
the way it builds up to, that's another fun thing to watch. Like first fight, I don't know how early you're gonna
Yeah.
get there.
No, we'll probably get there early.
Oh, dude, there's nothing better than like families, friends, then like, the early crowd. And then by the end of the night, you're just like, damn, how did all these people get here? It's dope.
That is a cool aspect. I can
Yeah.
imagine.
Yeah, they'll be at some point, like I'd say during the prelims, maybe like 2 cards before the pay-per-view, you'll look around and you'll tell your buddies like, yo, is this thing gonna sell out?
Yeah.
There's a lot of empty seats. And then when they dim the lights and they play the 4-minute promo package, which is fucking insane, they're gonna pull the lights up and you'll be like, holy shit,
Where'd these
they're
people
hanging
come
from the
from?
rafters, like Jim Ross would say in the Attitude Era, to use a wrestling reference. So it's gonna be dope, man. It's gonna be dope. And the other thing that's dope is Jack Settleman's social media, his podcast, everything he's doing. I appreciate you coming on, man.
Of course.
And,
Thank you guys for having me.
You gave us like an hour and a half, and it was, I didn't even tell you how long we were going to go, but we're just vibing. We could have kept going.
I know.
There's so much more shit. I would love to do this again next time you're
Yeah.
in town too, man. And
I'll be
And,
back for Super Bowl, but for the Cowboys versus the Bills, I guess.
It's gonna be
I
Lions,
guess.
bro. It's gonna be
Oh,
Lions. I'll
yeah.
say it for you. Lions, Ravens.
Lions, Ravens.
It's happening.
It's funny, like all right, how about this? Let's leave on this note. You guys give me 2 pieces of advice. I have 2 bets pending right now. One on Texas to win the national championship. I went to UT and I got them at 18-1.
can I cut you off real quick?
Yeah.
The reason why we're number 10, Vince Young.
It's young, VY. That's the reason I went to University of Texas. Fell in love with the school, watched Colt McCoy. And this is why sports, like, I love them because it literally dictated my life, through a weird path. But he's ironically the reason I ended up there. He's the reason why you love that number,
Crazy, bro.
which is nuts. So I have them 18-1. They're plus 230. They're minus 1 something against Washington. What would you do? And then I have the Ravens at 30-1. I got them before we re-signed Lamar, down to 6-1. But in a hypothetical, Ravens make it to the Super Bowl. Would you hedge? It's your favorite team. You have them at 31. And then what would you do with Texas? Because I already know what I'm doing with Texas, but I'm curious what you guys would do.
Hedge Texas. Don't hedge the Ravens. Like I
Let
couldn't
it ride.
imagine. Yeah. Like the Super Bowl. Yeah, you're either gonna love them or you're gonna hate them. But like UT, just based on like the outlook, yeah, I would
Would you hedge
look.
that?
Yeah,
So what would you do? Would you bet Texas to not win the championship, which would be like minus 3 something?
I would bet.
Or
the
would you bet
exacta.
Washington?
I would bet an exacta of Alabama to beat Texas.
So you would
'Cause I
let
think
it ride against Washington.
Yeah.
And then I would just bet Bama at that point.
Yeah,
What would you do?
I don't like this entire conversation. bro.
Why?
Gotta let it ride.
I'm
dude.
obviously letting it ride. No, I'm not a hedge person because my belief is like, why'd you place the bet if you're gonna hedge it? And that's how I feel if you place like $20 and you win. If let's say you place a $20 bet to win 10,000, right? And I'm always like, well, why did you place that extra leg to get it to 10,000 if you were gonna hedge? But that one, you don't really have any equity in it. So it's like, worst case, you lose $20. This, I have a lot of money on it. So it's like, I really was just playing the odds on it because I thought it was good value. I won a series of bets for them to even get here, to win the semi, etc. I would hedge against Bama because I just don't, not that we wouldn't win the game, just beating Saban twice in the same year seems like a tall task. With the Ravens, I'm kind of in agreement with you. It's like, I'm going to be miserable for 8 weeks if they lose the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And money isn't going to fix that. And if they win the Super Bowl and then I got a lot of money to run around Vegas with, that might be the optimal outcome.
This is how I respond to these kind of questions. I don't like pocket watching.
Yeah.
I think you're doing pretty well for yourself.
Yeah.
Let it ride, bro.
You don't know how much I have on
Double
it, though.
down, bro.
You don't know how much I
I don't
have.
need to know how much you have on it, but I know that you're doing well, and I'm happy for you, and I'm rooting for you. I will be a little upset if you hedge, bro. Like hedging, I look at hedging as using 3 condoms.
No, I'm with you.
So what?
I get it. Why'd you place the
Now
bet
look,
to be
if
it?
it was to win,
There is also, my one hedge is like, if something in your opinion has materially changed, that's different, right? Not like if Lamar's out, the odds aren't even going to be decent enough for you to hedge. So I think you just let it ride probably at that point, or cash out and get your money back. But like if something that you've seen, if you know, and you're like, God, like the Ravens got here, but really like they don't have a chance in this game because of something that's changed from your initial, I'm fine with that. But yeah.
yeah, because you get new information, you've seen something
Exactly.
new. It's like, say they've never won in Kansas City, and
Right.
they're going to play there, then yeah, maybe you feel different.
Yeah.
But I'm someone like, I'm letting that shit ride,
Yeah.
bro. We had my dad and I around this time last year during the World Cup,
Yeah,
we went all in on Argentina,
I remember.
and we
that.
had a ticket, and my dad called me right before they played the Netherlands. I'm like, bro, we've already paid the $2K.
Yeah.
Like it's gone,
Yeah.
and we had the ticket because I always feel like the ticket is way cooler.
Oh,
if
way
you have it than the app.
Dude, if
Also,
I-
you don't have the temptation of hitting the cash
That's
out there.
true. If I
right?
win one of these Ravens or Texas bets, it's in my FanDuel account. Like it doesn't hit the same as that ticket.
So I told my dad, I was like, yo, we got to let it ride, bro. They get to the semis. I forgot who they played. Croatia? Was it?
Yeah.
They played. Was it
No,
Croatia?
France probably
No, they
played
played.
Croatia.
No, France played Morocco. Croatia
Oh, okay.
was Argentina.
Yeah.
They won that. And now when they played France, like, dude, I know you're a big soccer guy
Yeah.
too. And I definitely want to pick your brain about the U.S. men's national team one day. France is my favorite international team. I have no ties to them, never
Yeah.
been, no friends, no family from there. But Thierry Henry is my favorite soccer player of all time. And like, they're stacked. But I was like, bro, we're in the final now, dude. Like, let's just let it ride.
I also didn't think that they were actually that good.
France or Argentina?
Yeah, France.
France.
Like I almost placed what would have been my biggest bet of all time on Argentina. I didn't do it because I was like, anything could happen. Like I really didn't feel like I had a huge edge. I really thought that Argentina was the better team in that game. Like France, the guys who had been injured, their stars weren't really playing that well. And even though like I can't imagine what you and your pops went through that day.
Dude.
As a fan of the sport, I almost cried for Messi. I was rooting for Argentina so hard. Having financial investment in that game, the roller coaster of emotions, I don't know if I would have made it to penalties. Like I literally thank the Lord that penalties weren't stressful. Like in some like Argentina, they kind of led from start to finish. But like when he scored in extra time and I was like, wow, he finally did it. Like this is the Messi moment. Like he actually, it wasn't a penalty. Like there's nothing you could say. He scored and then Mbappe scores again. I don't know if I would have been able to handle it.
Bro, I'm scrolling through my phone right now because I'll show you off air and then I'm going to repost it for everyone listening.
Yeah.
My dad I FaceTime my dad and he's crying. like someone passed away in our family crying. And I was like, yo, bro, I love you. And I just hung up the phone because like he was going through
What
it.
were the odds on it?
We got plus 900. George,
Okay.
look at this photo, bro.
Oh my God.
And I'm hammered
dude.
at
You're
10:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
On a
The game went for like 4 hours.
Bro, toss that to Jack.
Oh my God. Yeah. It looks like his team won the World Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they were like in Argentina.
And bro, we were just going through. I'm gonna definitely post this when I shoot this video. And I'm hammered. I'm like yelling. I'm sending him Maradona memes of him giving the original cocaine cowboy, Diego Maradona. Oh man, good time. It was about a year ago too, bro. It was about a year ago. Legit. Jack, this was fucking dope, man. I thank you so much for thinking about me when you came out here and you were like, yo, bro, let me hop on the show. Thanks for taking the time because I know you're busy and shit. And to have you on for about almost 2 hours now, and you connected with George too. I would love for you guys to do some shit. That'd be dope.
I'm excited. I mean, all love for you, but I'm excited to follow along, see the journey now because we all started in one place, you know?
Oh, yeah, man.
And hey, our goal is to go together. That's the biggest thing in content creation. It's all this like solo journey for a lot of people. So that's why I think you two are lucky to have found each other and be able to work off each other, because that's the toughest part. Like the going through it daily on your own, the failures, the lack of success. And then when you have someone to motivate you to work off of, it's inspiring.
It definitely changes the game, bro.
Yeah,
Fuck
definitely.
Yeah,
we found each other. You see the way he said,
me, bro.
Love.
Get it, bro.
It's a show. Cool.
Jack, tell people where they can find you on social media.
Jack Settleman, Snapback Sports, all platforms. Come sub to the new YouTube channel. You can be subscriber 1468 or whatever it might be.
No, I just took that one. 1469.
1469. There it is. Very nice. Very nice. But appreciate you guys for having me. Maybe we'll talk in a couple months. Super Bowl, Ravens, Lions, Cowboys, Bills. We'll see. But thank you guys for having me.
George, where can they find you?
At Mr. George Carmona is where you can find me doing a whole bunch of shit. My brother's going to sign soon. So,
dude, yo.
Yeah, you want to give me the source on that?
It's down to UCLA, BYU, Arkansas, or Auburn.
Okay.
Yeah. I
mean, my Longhorns are going to the SEC, so maybe we'll see your brother in some action.
Like, I mean, I say it, but it's like the insider info you get for having a brother that's like
it's
around the team. Oh, we'll be in touch, Jack. We'll be in touch.
I've already asked for tickets for when he gets drafted. I'm one of those guys. Like, if you offer, I'm not going to say no.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I respect that.
You got
You're taking it early.
I take all the advantages. I plant the seed.
You got him to sign a contract for that. I thought that was weird.
That was weird. That was also private. Why are you mentioning that? At Nick Day is 10 News. You can find me. All things Veterans Minimum are at Veterans Minimum. Enjoy the weekend, and we'll catch you guys next time.
In his element, I'm a gold medalist, bronze like your medal is. So many deer in headlights, but it's bedtime. Hear that supper bell, main course be the venison.
Dab. Most dangerous game. Either kill or be killed.